Hello and welcome to Day in Woburn. I've missed everybody. It's been a couple of weeks. I had some family stuff going on, and then we had the Labor Day holiday. So I'm very excited to be back and welcome Mayor Concannon as always.
Hey, Samantha. It's great to have the show on again. Missed you the last couple of weeks on TV, but certainly see you every day in the office.
Yeah, yeah, you couldn't get rid of me that easily. There's a lot going on as we enter September in full force. All the things that maybe felt a little slower around the city ramp up into high gear. We have some wonderful guests on today about some things we're going to chat about. One of the things that has come up after the town hall meeting and some things that we've chatted with people about, where we've talked about the Wyman School now that the city has the property and what might happen to that. People have sort of gone into the Wayback Machine and pulled out some conversations that happened, admittedly, quite some time ago, when the school still had the properties, numbers of years ago, where at the time Mayor Galvin had talked about potentially deed restricting the Wyman and what could happen there. And I thought it might be great for us to just kind of give the community an update about what did or didn't happen and what might look like moving forward.
So in the last month or two, the school committee did have a vote to determine that they no longer needed the old Wyman for educational purposes. And that's a provision in the law that kicks the property back over to the city for the municipal side. At that point, we determined whether we need it for any particular municipal use. And it kind of kicks off a process where I would send a letter down to the city council. They're aware, of course, that the building is now on the city side, but the letter would basically request authorization for the disposition of that building. We're seeing that play out coincidentally tonight in city council committee meetings with the old fire department station 3. So the process calls for to request permission to dispose of, obviously seek input from the city council and of course the community, residents and neighbors of a particular building to determine what's the best use of that building. Given the nostalgic / historic nature of the old Wyman Castle, there have been discussions over the years what's the appropriate thing to do with that building. And I guess I would just advise folks that we'll let the process play out. I'll send down a letter to the council. I'm sure they'll conduct public meetings, gather input from the residents throughout the city to determine what's the best course of action going forward. There was discussion in the past about some sort of restriction to preserve the castle portion of the building with any future project or development. It didn't come to fruition at that time. The building was still in the hands of the school, so it was a little premature to make that happen. But I'm sure something like that will be part of the discussions going forward. So we're at the very beginning of that process, but we'll make sure when it plays out, it does so openly and transparently.
Great, thanks for that update. Let's talk about schools for just a little bit longer. One of the things we know is that the school building committee has been meeting over the summer. That certainly didn't slow down too much. And thought this would be a good opportunity as school has opened back up. We're excited to see students back in the buildings to give you an opportunity to give the community an update of what that building committee's work has been and what's happening next.
Yeah, so as people probably recall, the school department commissioned a study of all of its facilities to determine a path forward on maintenance and renovation and general upkeep. And that report came in probably just about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. So I actually began conversations with the school committee right around the beginning of the year. It's a pretty involved and complicated report. It analyzed every one of the school buildings, and we thought it might be best to have a small ad hoc committee of sorts to try to digest that report, kind of make some sense of it and carve out some ways we can move forward. So that ad hoc committee was tasked with chewing on that report and coming back with recommendations. They are, I think, nearing the end of their task. I expect some sort of report or recommendations from them, either later this month or later in the fall. And then, of course, the rest of the process would kick in terms of school committee taking actual votes on their recommendations. City council would have an opportunity to weigh in. And of course, there'd be all sorts of opportunity for community input, because a quick read of that consultant's report was an eye-opener. It suggested that several of the buildings in the district need some significant work, namely the Alta Vista School in North Woburn and the two middle schools. So at this point, we're waiting to hear what this ad hoc committee recommends as next steps, and then we'll evolve the two legislative bodies or public bodies in the city, the school committee and the city council, with all sorts of community input to determine what we do next. I know that probably in a lot of our residents' minds, the next logical step in our school building process was to be the building of a new North Woburn Elementary School, an Alta Vista / Linscott combined school, I think is what most people were thinking. And they probably did have some sense that the middle schools needed work as well. Quick reading of that study made us open our eyes a little bit to the status of the middle schools. So at this point, I'm not sure exactly which path they'll recommend, but when that comes out, there'll be plenty of opportunity for people to weigh in, and then we'll decide what are the next steps for our community.
Sounds great. Thank you for that update. Before we talk a little bit about some of the ways that we've been spending some money from this year on some fun things that really help our residents, I wanted to just talk a little bit about waste management. We've had a lot of communications beginning around some new recycling efforts. Next week's show, we have someone from Waste Management who will be joining us, and we'll go into a lot of detail. But this week, I thought it would be good to at least give you an opportunity to talk about why we've moved to automated recycling. And then again, next week, we'll have someone on and we'll go through a lot of detail.
Yeah, so the current waste management contract, or actually the one that just expired a couple of months ago, that was sitting on my desk when I got here, and we immediately began the process of renegotiating into the next years. We have in the past contemplated going out to bid and opening up to the world of trash and recycling companies. But we felt it was the best course of action to try to negotiate with the current provider, Waste Management. So we began that task in late winter, early spring, and negotiated with them over the course of the spring. And it was clear that if we continued on the same exact path in the way that we do trash and recycling in Woburn, there was going to be a dramatic increase in the cost. And that shouldn't really be a shock to too many people who pay attention to what's happening in the world. Everything's going up. The cost of equipment and manpower costs, just all sorts of costs across the spectrum impact this waste management contract. So we brainstormed to try to figure out ways we could save some money. One of those ways was to move towards automated pickup. Obviously, right off the bat, it saves in manpower. You don't need as many men and women on the truck. So that was an obvious path to pursue. And the standardization of pickup of bins, and of course, the tonnage that's picked up all weigh heavily into how much the contract costs. So we did talk about this internally a bit. We've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it at town halls. We've tried to gather some community input into best path forward. We've reviewed what our neighboring communities do. And so what we determined was easing into it. We're beginning with an automated one bin recycling plan, which will kick off by the end of the month. The bins will be out and we'll start. And then at the beginning of the next fiscal year, if all goes well, based on the lessons that we learn and the ways to implement, we expect we will go to automated for trash as well. So the main reason we did it was financial. And then there's other benefits that go along with it. It's a little cleaner along the streets on trash day. We don't have the debris blowing around and accumulating. There's also the consideration of the rodent problem. We're trying to eliminate food sources, and standardized hard plastic bins make it harder for the rodents to find that food source, and perhaps they move along. So it's really those three main items were the factors that entered into the decision to go automated. We do understand that change is difficult. We're going to try to manage that change as best we can. I know you've been working hard on FAQs and getting the word out and trying to get as much information so people can be prepared, and we'll continue that process. And we'll obviously receive feedback and tweak the program as best to try to make sure it's not as painful as it might otherwise be.
Yeah, we really want to make sure that people have as much information as possible. For those who haven't seen it, we do have a pretty detailed FAQ on the website. And that came from a lot of questions that people asked us. We sort of put out a Facebook post to sort of collect what questions people wanted to know. And then we created the FAQ from that. It's been published in the newspaper recently. Yep. There will be a flyer going out to everyone whose household is served. We'll have waste management on next week. So we'll continue to help people get as much information as possible, and they shouldn't be shy about asking questions. It is change. And for some, it's going to be a really easy change. And for others, it might be a little bit more challenging. But as those questions are coming in, Waste Management has worked closely with us to get answers. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad for everybody asking those questions, because if they have it, somebody else does too.
Yeah, and as I said, our neighboring communities have been doing this for a little bit. So there's lessons to be learned from the way they did it. And I do think, even though it's change, I think it's for the best. It's definitely going to save some money and hopefully have those other benefits of increasing recycling and getting a better handle on the tonnage that's taken away each week, and maybe keep the streets a little bit cleaner as well.
I was telling Mayor Concannon earlier today that I had a little mouse friend visiting my house again, and I've just about had enough of that. So anything we can do to reduce them visiting my bedroom, I am all in favor of.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the cat isn't an option in your house, but
I tell you, I would.
A nice tool to have in the toolbox.
If I was not so allergic, I would absolutely have a cat. I may have to go on vacation and borrow somebody's cat for a week at some point, but I think it's great. I really think that people are asking excellent questions. We appreciate that feedback. Two things that are fun things that are happening across the city. One is that our senior centers are getting much needed new vans, and I don't know if we have a timeline update on that yet.
Yeah, we talked to Marie up at the senior center. She's working hard through the state contract in the procurement process to get those two vans. The update today was that she's been talking with the providers, and she doesn't have an exact time frame, because these aren't, you can't just walk down the street and buy one off the lot. There's some, uniqueness to these vans, but I would tell you that she's working very hard to try to get them in the fleet as soon as possible, one and then the other. So hopefully we see those on the road, maybe late fall or winter, because I know they're much needed. And as you alluded to, there's actually two of them coming. One was as a result of some hard work from State Rep Rich Hagerty. We appreciate that very much. And then the other van is it's paid for by some of our capital funding here in the city's budget, as well as generous support from the volunteers, the Friends of the Senior Center. So we appreciate their support as well. So again, hopefully we see those in the fleet in no time.
And the other thing I wanted to ask, but I don't know if you had a chance to see the new bike pump repair kits that are sort of out and about.
I've seen them. I actually have a bike myself. Thankfully, it doesn't need any repair right now, knock on wood. But I know that they've been well received. I know they're strategically located to where the bikers are likely to want and need them, and they can just help out with some minor repairs to keep you back on the road if you happen to have some issue while you're traversing the city. And as you said, that's just a couple of examples of some of the great things that the team, specifically those in the planning department who are working hard to identify funding sources and then put the money to good use throughout the city. The bike repair kits, the cool Adirondack chairs you see around the city, the big chessboard, which, you know, I think is getting some use, among other things they're trying to do to clean things up and make things look a little bit nicer for our residents. So we appreciate their hard work.
Definitely getting used. I see people using it frequently, and our planning office, Casey Haggerty and myself, occasionally get pictures sent to us of people who are using it and are excited about those things being there. So we're glad, and we actually just put a couple of Adirondack chairs down in Library Park near the pickleball courts in that shade area. So great way to help encourage people to be able to enjoy the outdoors.
Yep. Very nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you as always for joining us. I appreciate it very much. Next up, we have City Councilor Chuck Viola.
Hi, Samantha. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so glad you can join us. Ward 7 is always near and dear to my heart. My mother and father live in Ward 7, so I have a special interest in that. I know that one of the exciting things that's coming up is kind of a cleanup that you've helped to organize with Myra behind McDonald's and such. I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about what's going to be happening there.
Sure, absolutely. So actually not next week. So September 26th from 4:30 to 6. I'm sponsoring cleanup down there with Mystic River Watershed, as you said. We're going to go and clean up the Shaker Hill Glen area that's in behind there that people are using as a dumping site, and they've been using that for years. So it's good to get some attention in there. Eventually that whole area is going to be redeveloped, redesigned, so that way the water flows correct way in there. I'm going to put in some pollinator gardens in there, and it'll alleviate the flooding that we do get in the four corners.
That's good news in so many ways. Make it less of a dumping ground and more of a natural space, and also helping with flooding. That's huge. So I know that's a long-term project.
Yes.
Do you want to sort of talk a little bit about the next step that's happening now?
Sure. So the next step right now, it's currently in the permitting process. So with the state and DEP and Mass Environmental. So it's going to be a long drawn out process, but it's supposed to start taking place late 2025. So that's what I've been told. So keeping our fingers crossed, everything stays on track. So by late 2025, we'll be seeing some work down there.
Excellent. And for anyone, whether you're in Ward 7 or not, if you're interested in helping with the cleanup, we encourage people to come on down. The Mystic River Watershed Association, which I always have a hard time saying altogether, always supplies gloves and things to pick up trash with and things. And then of course RTPW will do a really great job coming within a couple of days to pick up everything that's sort of gathered and put ready for a pickup.
Right. Yep.
Excellent. Now, traffic is always a thing, and Ward 7 is no exception to that. There's a lot of activity going on and there. I thought it might be a good opportunity for you to talk about some of the traffic improvement things that are planned and forthcoming.
Yep. So we've been talking about the Bedford Road, Cambridge Road intersection now for a couple of years. The process is underway. The design phase is about 25% done, and then the ad for construction actually is going to be going out soon, and construction is going to begin hopefully late of the summer of 2026.
That's exciting. I know it feels like it's taken forever, I'm sure, for everyone who's been involved, and these things do take a long time, particularly when state roads and things are right,
and especially where there's going to most likely be land takings that are going to occur to make the roads safer there for both pedestrians, bicyclists, and for people traveling in their vehicles as well. So
yeah. Excellent. Well, we also had a little bit of traffic activity with some road work that was being done just as school was starting. And I have to compliment you and DPW and the police, who all worked really hard to make sure that that disruption would not affect the drop off of school on the first couple of days of school, and help set some good guidelines about when work could get started those mornings.
Yep. We work well as a team. So as the team goes forward, we make sure everything runs according to plan. And then also, while we're speaking about traffic, talk about the Goddard School that's going in on Cambridge Road, that they actually were doing construction on the side of the street as well. We the city's traffic consultant that we use is actually drawing up the plans for flashing pedestrian crosswalk lights that are going there as well. So for the crosswalks where the kids go to the Reeves School through their back entrance. So hopefully we have that soon, and the kids will be able to utilize the lights with the crossing guard to garner more attention.
That's great. Anything else exciting happening in Ward 7 that you want to keep us posted on?
I could talk about the Battle Road that we have
Yes.
over there. Yes,
I was
Casey
hoping that
Haggerty,
you would bring that up.
Casey Haggerty, our economic development director, who's in the planning department, was able to get a $30,000 grant from the Mass. Let me see. I want to make sure I say it right. Mass Office of Travel and Tourism. So we're going to create a park with a memorial on at the end of the Battle Road up towards the Tarky site. And we're going to work with the team. We'll work with the Historical Society, the Historical Commission, and all the other people in the city and residents to try and make the best park possible.
And I know a lot of people in that area are concerned about what the word park means. It's really passive. It's really really just some memorializing of the history of that area and making sure that it's well cared for and maintained.
That's correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, we had a chance to take a walk there the other day, and I have to admit, I've spent very little time there, and sort of shame on me. My husband's actually a really big history buff and even a Civil War reenactor, and I had never really taken the time to walk down Battle Road there, and I'm glad I had a chance to do that. It's a nice gem in our little hidden history gem.
Yep, and it actually goes a lot further from where we went. It goes all the way down to the bottom of Russell Street. So that'll hopefully all be cleaned up, and then eventually we'll get the Battle Road on the National Historic Register.
That'll be a fun celebration. We look forward to staying in touch with you about that. Now,
Yep.
I've got one other thing to ask you about. I know it's not in your ward, but lots of people have been talking about it. And as a member of City Council, you'll vote on permits and things. And people have talked a lot about the dome, which is admittedly been a big old mess for a lot of years. It's a site that's really hard to develop because of its footprint. And there is some development been proposed by someone who purchased that land. It is private land. It's not public land, for those who might not realize. And there's been a lot of questions about, and there's been sort of comment about sort of the design of it. This process is not done, and wanted to give you a chance to just kind of share your thoughts about where we are and what happens next.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm probably the most outspoken counselor on utilizing cities, sorry for the phone, the city's land to park personal vehicles overnight. So developers would actually purchase spots. So I'm actually against that. But we do have some good news that Man Court, up behind where on the opposite side of the road, the DPW has over the summer updated that, made about 50 parking spots that we're looking forward to utilizing for that. But also to get back to your question about the dome, about 15-20 years ago, if that actually was taken better care of, I'd say back then, we'd be able to hopefully save the dome. But at this point, it's structurally unsound. It's an eyesore. Something needs to go there. The proposed project that's in front of us right now, I'm not 100% sold on it. As you said, it's still in a working process. I'd like to see brick facade. I don't care too much for the aesthetics of it, how it looks right now, because it does stick out. It doesn't match with the aesthetics of downtown Woburn, and we want to have a cohesive downtown so it all looks nice. And so we want people to go there.
And this is a great opportunity to remind people that this is a very public process and has been, and that there are hearings that I think October 1st, if I'm correct, is the next.
I believe so, yes.
Public hearing plan for the people. If they have strong opinions for or would prefer something different, this is the time to speak up. I think most of us agree it's going to be good to have the space, something happen there, and someone take good care and be good stewards of that space, which is sort of prime downtown. And there's room for debate about what that is and what that looks like, and the role of City Council to help us navigate that process. We appreciate the hard work that goes into that, as well as by the architects and the team, the developer, who's I think shown really good attempts to help work within the space and work within the community, and I think so far has been pretty open, and I hope they will continue to do that.
Absolutely. And I'd also tell the public as well, they could also email any of the city councilors with any questions, concerns, and generally we all do get back to them. So there is that process as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you for weighing in on all the great things that are happening in Ward 7. We really appreciate that. And you do a great job of keeping us informed. And we always love having you on to catch up.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Next up, Colleen Cormier, welcome.
Thank you, Samantha. How are you?
Good. I feel like I'm supposed to learn something behind you. I know you're at your day job and you have
Every day is a school day, Samantha. You're going to learn something, I tell you.
That's right.
Mhm.
And today I know you're wearing your Friends of the Woburn Public Library hat.
Yes.
I'm super excited because the library book sale is always a really fun way to sort of rebuild my bookshelf. And just by coincidence, I recently cleaned it all out and gave away a bunch of books, and it's time to start filling it back up again.
That's right.
I love it. So tell us about this year's sale.
So it's the second one that I've done since we came back together, the Friends. So we learned a lot last year, and I think it's going to be pretty smooth. We will start taking donations the week after this, so the 16th through the 19th in the program room on the lower level of the library. And we have volunteers to help people unload their cars and bring in their donations. The sale will be Friday, the 20th for friends only. So if you want to go to that day, you need to sign up to be a friend. And you can do that on our website, woburnpubliclibrary.org/friends. And then also the general sale is held on Saturday. And towards the end of the sale, about 2:30, we'll have a fill a bag sale where you get a tote bag, like a shopping bag, $15, and whatever you can fit in it, you can take home with you.
I love it. And it's a really great opportunity. The money, the proceeds that come from us actually go for a really good cause. I know I've personally benefited from it. Tell us a little bit about how these funds are used.
So the museum pass program that the library has for Woburn residents is paid for by the Friends. Currently, there are other things that we will use the funds for throughout the year in conjunction with the library, but that's mainly our focus is the museum pass program.
Were there any like special unique finds from last year that stick in your head that you remember?
So we definitely had it was amazing. I wasn't there when they dropped it off, but it's called a Franklin Library collection, and it's these leather bound classic books that
Beautiful.
somebody brought. It was like 45 volumes. It was wild, and I think it went for like $250.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so a couple sets of that. There was some like a mystery set also, tons and tons of children's books. I was looking through the records yesterday, and DVDs, a lot of DVDs went, and there are we have things that the archivist at the library has donated when weeding her collection. So the History of Woburn by Seawall, it's apparently a hot ticket item. So I'm not sure if we're gonna have that as a raffle, but that will be available for folks. There's a few different books and things that we have for the raffles, some artwork again, like we had last year. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff there.
That's awesome. Every time somebody says DVD, the only thing I can think about is a number of years ago when my children were littler people, we made the decision, I'm not sure it was a smart decision, but we made the decision to drive to Florida over the Christmas holidays. My sister at the time had a home there and we were going to spend the holidays together. And we didn't have a DVD player in our van. So I had a little portable one, and the DVD that played nonstop for the entire 18 hours down and the entire 18 hours home was Gilligan's Island. Every 20 minutes, the opening song would play. And it is absurd association for me, but every time I hear a DVD, I twitch a little bit and I sing a little of the Gilligan's Island theme in my head. So I know for many others, it will be better to have a more balanced collection.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us and for all the really amazing work the Friends of Woburn Public Library do. This is a great excuse to sign up and be a member if you haven't already, to come in and get the first selection of books. And there are some, as Colleen described, some special books that are of special significance and cost, and lots of stuff that's super affordable and things. And the library really relies on those donations and purchases to do some awesome museum pass programs and other things.
And a really important part last year that I'm gonna advertise more is the fact that we can give yes hours to the students for, graduation. I mean, you can start getting them in elementary school. You can get a certificate at 5th grade graduation. You need it for National Honor Society. So we had a few students last year, which worked out amazing. So I'm really trying to remind folks that if they have a youth who is looking to gain some yes hours by helping guide people to where their donations go, or just, tidy up with us on the day of the sale, that they should go to our website and sign up.
Thank you for mentioning that. We often have people looking for good ways to tire out their children. And this is one of those great ways to do that and get a jump start on yes hours for the year.
Yep.
Excellent. And for those who, I think most people who have a child in the schools probably know, but somebody else might be saying, what is yes hours? Yes hours are just volunteer hours where a student has done something good to contribute to their community in any way that is they deem and their family deems is appropriate, and they get credit for those through yes hours. And those students who join National Honor Society or want to get certain levels of recognition at graduations and ceremonies and schools changes count those yes hours. So it's not a requirement, but it's strongly encouraged, and it's a great way to help build good, thoughtful folks in our community and reward those students for their hard work.
Right.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next up,
Thank you.
we're going to talk about another fun event. Welcome, Julie and Bob.
Thanks for having us, Samantha.
Thank you very much.
I'm really excited to have you there. Julie Gage from the Boys and Girls Club and Bob Maguire from Winning Home Foundation have teamed up to do some really fun stuff, a family fun day. Julie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's planned?
Sure. So we're really excited this year in 2024. Winning Home is actually celebrating their 125th anniversary. And the McEwen Boys and Girls Club is celebrating their 60th anniversary. So we've teamed up to host the Family Fall Fun Fair, which is also free. So all the F's for the whole community.
Very alliterative, very nicely done.
This coming Saturday, September 14th from 11 to 3 here at the Boys and Girls Club. It's really about giving back to the community and trying to evoke memories of Winning Farm and memories that people might have as going to camp at Winning Farm, and just bringing the community together, especially younger children and their caregivers.
It's phenomenal. Bob, 125 years, that's not anything to shake our heads at. That's a huge legacy. Tell us a little bit about the work that you guys are most proud of.
I'd be happy, but first of all, let me put a top of what Julie just said, rain or shine.
Yes.
If you give it time, we'll tell you all the things that's going to be available. But 125 years, it's really, Winning Home, Inc., it really evolved from Winning Farm and William Winning, and who died in 1898. And the current makeup is different than Winning Farm because it's all about providing grants to other nonprofit charitable organizations. And we've been lucky enough to be able to take the money that we got from selling that land. And over the years, we have been very lucky to get money for a lot of people and children, because our mission with the Boys Club is about children, helping children. And we donate a lot to Woburn functions, Boys and Girls Club. We do SCI, and we provide money social concern, and money to the Educational Foundation, Woburn Community Educational Foundation. But all of them have different reasons why they're helping children. And I want to just add a couple more that outside of the Woburn community. Gaining Ground is a farm in Concord. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the only reason to be operating is to produce food for families at the pantries, food pantries, period. And it's an unbelievable organization. And they do have one farmer that's paid, but the amount of people they get volunteering is unbelievable. And they do a wonderful job. And then we have another thing, the Children's Room in Arlington is really, it's remarkable. Some of these people what they provide to children is unbelievable. They take care of kids who have lost a parent, and they provide counseling and kids their own age at night for just to meet people, get them out of the house, and they're wonderful organizations. So that's why we decided this year on our anniversary to go with the Boys and Girls Club and provide a, well, not even say it right, family fall fun fair. I said I wasn't going to do it for myself, but I did. And what better way to celebrate an anniversary but to have something free for kids?
I love it. That is such a generous way to celebrate, and we're so grateful. Julie, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the activities that families will partake in that day?
Sure. Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I would say that the biggest attraction is that Fiesta Shows is going to be here with a few amusements. So we'll have a carousel, the super slide, a fun house, and one other. So that'll be great. A rock climbing wall. So something for the older kids, but mostly geared toward the younger kids there. Community partners, the Woburn Host Lions Club and the Woburn Kiwanis Club, which are always super generous, will be here providing some of the refreshments, which is great. We'll have a petting zoo, which is going to include pony rides. So we're really excited about that, trying to evoke the horses and the idea of the horses going way back when we're thinking about Winning Farm and the reason that Winning Home Inc. exists today. DJ Dan will be here with entertainment. Rumor is that Bluey, as well as Mickey and Minnie, will be making an appearance. So yeah, there's going to be plenty to do. It's from 11 to 3. It's sort of we know Saturdays are busy in Woburn. There's so much happening for families. So families can come and go as they please. Most of those events will be happening for the entire 4 hours. So you can come spend an hour or come and spend the entire time with us.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I'm super
more.
excited. And there's more. Bob, tell us more. What's more?
Thank you very much. It's going to be cotton candy. There's going to be shaved ice, so the kids can put on their own mixture, whatever they put in on them. We're going to have the DJ Dan has a lot of things set up, and I know I, for one, made sure he's going to do the hokey pokey. So I want you to get there early for that.
I hope I want to see you out there doing that hokey pokey, Bob.
That's very little chance of that. But we have face painting, and don't forget the club staff is going to do crafts for everybody, and it's going to be a great time. It's going to fill up the entire grounds of the Boys and Girls Club. So we have to talk about parking, because there will be no parking in the Boys and Girls Club. So we have the 2 schools, the old Wyman School, the new Wyman World School parking lot, not too far away. And next door, the, I forget their name. The Tachi company, always wonderful to us. They've let us use their parking lot. So all those places, and there will be, you're going to have a lot of volunteers, we will, with orange and black t-shirts, because if you need to know anything, have a question, ask them, and if they don't know the answer, they'll find the right person. And
I'm so glad you mentioned parking, because that sounded like a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, you had me at like shaved ice and cotton candy. I know I'm not a kid, but you know, kid at heart when it comes to snacks. So
it's going to be a great day. And I just want to add one more important thing. The restrooms will be open to the Boys Club.
Hey, so that is definitely important,
very important
for parents.
I think we've thought of everything, haven't we, Julie?
We tried.
We tried.
I think you have as well. This sounds like a ton of fun. Thank you both for coming on and sharing it, and for all you do for our community. We're so lucky to have organizations like both of yours right here at home to make these special events possible.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Woburn, as always, please continue to take good care of each other.